Agenda, we're going to start. I think the last couple of Insiders Calls has been really great to hear what folks have been working on. So we'll spend a few minutes talking about, you know, some of the stuff that projects you've been working on. And then I'll hand it over to Ali to talk a little bit about the changes to collect as far as being able to edit, finalize, and send forms. There'll be a web forms update and then central updates. And then we'll stay around, at least I'll stay around for after hours. So with that, let's move to the open floor. We will sort of go around. We'll pick 3 people. I think we're going to do 3 people, about 5 minutes max, to learn more about what you're working on. Either a project that you're working on, how are you using ODK? You know, if you have a mind-blowing form, shout out to Andrew, who always seems to have mind-blowing forms that you want to share, you can absolutely do that. A recent project milestone or something new that you learned on the forum that you want to share. So again, the idea is that we get 3 to 5 minutes. I will be very strict with time because we have just an absolute ton of stuff to share today. So anyone want to volunteer as tribute to go first? We can even, I see there's
I think I'll go
Yakub.
first.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're working on a longitudinal study on facilities, health facilities in Kaduna.
Okay.
So before entities, it meant each data point would be collected independently and aggregated. But with entities, we have the list of facilities as an entities, and then
Mhm.
multiple forms just use that.
Yes.
And we also have a polygon questionnaire where you collect the polygon of the facility and it updates the entities, which is why I asked the question, I think, on the forum a few months ago. So going on, it pulls data from the entities, including the location, and then compares it with your own location to do a location check. And then it also pulls for data that's been collected, so you're able to have a glimpse of the data collected before. So something like the number of HR or the services they offer that the enumerator who goes there can reference to, even if you're not the person that went the last time. So I think it's been interesting having multiple forms able to connect thanks to entities and also with the geofencing. So that has taken away one of the things we usually do to check that you actually went to the facility. So with the polygon check, we don't do that. When your data comes in, we are sure that you've gone there. So we don't do it as much because we know that ODK wouldn't even open the form unless you're there. So it's been quite interesting. It has given me some space. So after the form design, when data comes in, I don't have to check the location to ensure everyone is where they're supposed to be. So I could be sure that they really went there. So it's really been exciting. Uh, and yeah, a lot of people have reached out to myself and my organization saying, "Oh, how did you do that?" You know, we have a lot of similar issues sending people and then not sure if they've gone there. So yeah, that has been quite exciting.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for sharing, and I'll reach out because I think I might be on another side of this project. Somebody has emailed me about. I was like, it sounds very similar to a project somebody emailed me about. So we'll talk after. Um, uh, Maybe we can hear for some new voices. I hate to put Collins on the spot. Collins, anything that you want to share?
Okay. So I have one, but I was just watching that there might not be enough time to pull up. So we did one. I'm actually working on one right now,
Oh, cool.
and I don't know if you can hear me.
I can hear you just great.
Can anybody hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear
you. Okay. Okay, so I'm actually working on one now, but it's actually going to be used on a different platform where they get to do uh, a consent taking and a little bit few questions to screen out those to screen in those who are eligible to participate in the survey. And the form is supposed to activate the main questionnaire. But this is for solicitude.
Cool.
But currently, I've not really tried that on ODK. It has an appearance that needs to activate the main form, but I've been trying with no success for now.
I see. Well, thank you for sharing. You have some homework to do then, is that you can try it and offer your feedback. For linking forms, you can often use entities for that. So give that a try and let us know on the form how that goes. But thank you so much for sharing. Anybody else want to share? We have space for one more.
So yes, hi, this is Saad. Can I come in?
Yes, please. What have you been working on, Saad?
All right, thank you very much. Yes, I've been working on actually
Oh,
my
Saad, you're breaking up, so we can't hear you so well.
we are working the Ministry of Health on next level kind of revamp the female health worker. Can you hear me?
But you're breaking up a lot. Oh, no, we can't hear him at all. We'll give Saad another moment. All right, so Saad, we can't hear you, but if you can, type what you wanted to share in the chat and we'll make sure to share it. I did see also in the chat that Andrew doesn't want to waste time sharing it, but apparently Andrew used ODK for an Easter egg hunt. There were QR codes, audio clues, and constraints. That's amazing. If you can, share that on the forum. I think we would like to see that. I would say that is the second most interesting use case of ODK, unusual use case I've heard of. The first, if you'd like to know, is that one guy built his wife audio jukebox with ODK as an anniversary gift. Basically made Winamp or something in ODK. So that's pretty unusual. I don't know if my wife would enjoy that gift, but hey, many many ways to the top of the mountain.
When all you have is a hammer.
When all you have is a hammer, everything was like, man, yes, fantastic. Okay, cool. I'm looking at the time here. We probably,
I
Ali,
think
do
we
have
have
space for
time.
one
Sam.
more. Sam,
Yeah,
you want
Sam,
to
were you
share?
going to share?
Yeah, sure. Was this just use cases of ODK recently? Right. Yeah,
Yeah,
because I
forms,
missed the
success
start.
stories. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, we've been using web forms recently at Hot OSM, and it's been working really well. We have this project in Brazil where we're mapping favelas for vulnerabilities and potentialities. Basically, we just have a very basic form integrated into an existing application that we have for field mapping. And we're loading web forms obviously into the web browser, but on people's mobile devices and successfully collecting field data using web forms. So I guess this wasn't the first target for web forms as such, but like we've managed to successfully get it to work. So very good success story. Success story, I would say.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. And thanks to Jennifer and Ali and Trevor and the rest of the team for making that possible. All right. I think, Ali, we can hand things over to you.
Yeah, give me a second. I'll share here. There we go. Hopefully everyone can see that okay. Awesome. All right, so we're going to move into, thank you for all of the use cases, the stories. That's so helpful for us, especially with this next piece that we're going to talk about. Without your feedback, it really wouldn't be possible. I know we sound like a broken record, but it is so, so, so helpful to hear what's working, what's not working, how you're testing things out. It's part of the betas. So what we're going to share today is what we've built so far with editing, allowing edits for finalized and sent forms with collect. And so I'm going to first start off with just kind of setting the context, perhaps for some of you that weren't kind of part of some of this early discovery work, or maybe you're not following it as much on the forum, and kind of why this work started. So it kind of started with this ambition to make give more control to data collectors. Right now, that's really limited, or was limited to Central for reviewing and editing submissions. So the goal was really to shift that to the data collectors to have more control over editing their submissions. And before this piece of work kind of started, we were really working on making finalization truly final to allow for clearer workflows with entity functionality. So that's kind of the impetus for this work. And our goals today is to get feedback from you all on the beta if you've tried it, or maybe you're thinking about it, maybe you have some reservations or questions you want to talk through. We're going to have lots of space for that. And there's been some great questions on the forum as well around form versioning, and we'd love to hear a little bit more about your use cases, and all of that feedback will help inform the what we release and what will come after. So it's kind of setting the scene. The default flow, as a lot of you already know, this is really focused on only project managers can make the edits on submissions. So data collectors either finish their form in one session or save as draft and make edits until they finalize or they've sent it. And here, project managers do not want data collectors to edit on their devices. And really, there's a lot of reasons for this, for integrity, data quality. And so this works really well for a lot of workflows. What we're introducing now is this new edit workflow for collect users can make edits after a submission. So data collectors could send their form, and then maybe something has changed. They need to make a fix or edit, and they need to resubmit. So now that is possible. And here, project managers want data collectors to make those changes in context because they have that perspective. They're there in the moment, and that makes a lot more sense for their workflows rather than doing that in the office. So what data collectors will see is this little pencil. They simply tap on it, and then they can jump right into the editing flow. From the summary view, you can jump into whichever question you want to edit. And then you can see all of the summary of your edit history, which edit was made, edit 1, edit 2. We're looking at ways where we could potentially, down the road, potentially maybe bundle these or kind of group them in different ways. But for now, you can at least see which edit was made when, and you can jump into that. Another thing that we are working on and that we mentioned on the form is at the end of the flow, right now, users will see that finalized forms are not editable. That's kind of a messaging we've had up until this point. And so now we're introducing new messages at the end that reflect the state of the form. So if edits cannot be made, they see that first one with a little pencil with the dash. And if edits can be made, then they can see the edit pencil. I think we can explore ways to make this contrast even more obvious. Maybe play around with different colors. Obviously, the text and icon, you could still maybe miss it. So we really want to make sure that the data collectors are making informed choices. If they can't make edits, they know that maybe you want to save as a draft and keep working on it until they're ready to finalize. Another thing that we are working on that we haven't mentioned on the form is indicating that the users are in edit mode. And this is something that we really noticed when testing and playing around with it. Once you jump into the form that you want to edit, let's say you're in the ready to send, you want to edit fine. You open that one, you see the little pencil, you click it, and then you jump into the summary screen. Again, the pencil is removed, and it's a little bit of the transition could be a little bit more clear. So we want to make sure the user does know, okay, if you kind of forgot where you're at, you set your phone down, like you are now editing this form, and you can tap on a question to start editing. We explored other options as well as always making that kind of fixed at the top that you are in edit mode. But our assumptions was that you just want to know that you're editing this form, you can dismiss it and kind of move through. And also once that's kind of a learned behavior, you might not want to always see it. But we're definitely open to feedback on that. So that's something that we're working on incorporating for this release. So that's kind of on the messaging where we're at this point. In terms of use cases, I kind of already talked about who this is for. So for data collectors or for projects that really want to allow their data collectors to fix mistakes or capture new insights. So who it's not for, this is workflows that prefer all edits to be made by project managers. So if you want to stick with the default flow, that works perfectly and works for a lot of workflows. It's also not suitable for workflows that use entities. Entity-based workflows can use entity update forms to allow for edits. So it's kind of getting at the same goal as allowing more coordination between the office and the field. This edit workflow is just a slightly different way of getting there as opposed to the entity-based workflow. So that's kind of around the use cases as of right now. What's in beta? So this functionality is off by default. You have to opt in. I'll show you what that looks like in the XLS form. Collect users can make multiple resubmissions. Once an edit is made in Central, collect users can't edit. So at that point, a data collector would have to submit as new. Potentially, once we consider making copies, there's lots of other things we could do to expand on this, which I'll kind of talk about in the out of scope section. And then when deleted in collect, it can only be edited in Central. So I have a link for the beta, but maybe don't go try it right now if you haven't already. Hopefully we can kind of just talk through different use cases if you're considering it. In terms of what's in progress, still lots of work to be done, and we have the team on the call as well. So if we have more questions or want to dig into any of these. So we're working on that messaging. They shared what the end of form messaging looks like, showing that they're in edit mode. Only allow edits to the last edit in the chain. That's quite important. So we're working on that. How we display the edits, making sure that's really clear, showing a helpful error message when the submission is edited on the server, if an attempt to edit and collect is made, and then better handle the cases where drafts are disabled in the settings. So kind of just thinking through all of those different use cases. So what's out of scope? Cloning or making a copy. This came up in one of the first workshops that we did around this edit work. We think it's a really great idea, and it's definitely something we could consider. So we'd love to hear from you on that. Another idea that came up was limiting edits based on a few different factors. It could be date bound, so only edit after, or sorry, before a certain date. Time bound, maybe you give a certain number of hours after finalizing, or number bound. So it could be you're allowed 3 edits. And these are some of the cases that people proposed a while back. And yeah, we're really interested to hear more as it rolls out, as you are testing it with your data collectors. And then that last one is send back submission. So that's more of that review workflow where you can maybe come back with comments or issues for the data collector to fix. And that's a much bigger workflow that will come later. I'll pause for questions in just a sec, just so you have all the context. So this is the XLS form proposal for opting in. So the client editable column is on the settings sheet. If the column is absent, client edits are not enabled. And then this value is static, and yes or no, true or false, are all accepted. So maybe I will pause here. We'd love to, we have some questions that we want to dig into a little bit more on form versioning, but maybe we'll just pause here. Does anyone have any feedback? Have you played around with it? Have you tested? Or maybe somewhere in the chat as well. Or if anyone, let's see here.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
I
Go
have a
ahead.
question, I think, regarding
Yeah.
you made the edits for entities. So I think currently one of the challenge I have is if I make an edit on the form and the variable is updated on entities, then the update I make on central doesn't always reflect on entities. I have to edit that entry on entities. So I have to edit the variables twice.
Mm.
It's something that has I've done a few times. So with the edit, is it also going to reflect the same thing? So if I have a main form, because the analysis happens on the main data, the entities table is what we pull to have like a snapshot of what the data is. It just has bits and pieces of the data. So if the edit is made on the main form, does it then update the entities that it's supposed to edit, or does that have to be edited separately? So I just wanted to ask if that's something that has been considered.
Yeah, so this isn't suitable. The edit workflows that we're talking about isn't suited for an entity-based workflow. I'm curious, Yao, if you have any thoughts on what's
Yeah, and
happening.
yeah, I don't know what's happening, and maybe Yakub, you can send me an email
Yeah.
with like a more specific thing. But in general, the thing that I think folks should remember is that when you make an edit, like submissions and entities are sort of different things. So when you edit a submission, just like you do it right now in Central, it doesn't necessarily update, right, the entity data. Once the submission creates the entity, that link is sort of severed. And so any edits to the submission doesn't percolate to the entities, and any edits to the entities doesn't percolate to the submissions. So that's why Ali was saying that you can't use submission edits as a way to update entities. So that's sort of one thing to think about. As to your specific issue, hard to do support in real time, so just send me the details, and I'm glad to look into that for you to see what the issue might be. That sound good, Yakub?
Yeah, sounds good. So
Yeah.
the second thing is for with the edit on the settings. So you said it's static, so that means it can't be a function. It's either just a strict yes or
Oops.
no or true false. So you can't have a function that it evaluates to true. The user is editing. Can that happen?
Yes. It is static currently. I wonder why I mean,
Yeah, I'm
do you
also
actually
curious.
want it, or is it just like, wouldn't that be cool if it was, do you have a specific use case in mind, or is this more like it just, or you just want that power in case you might need it?
There is actually a specific case in mind. So we have
Let's hear it.
3 locations, and one of them is in Magarfi. I'm currently not in Kaduna. I'm in Magarfi, one of the data location. And those people go in there, I wouldn't really want them to edit the forms. So the same form. So if the location is a particular region, I wouldn't want them to edit for a reason too. But if they're in the metropolitan areas where I can always reach them, I might want them to. So that's a use case that just came to my head, and that was where I'm asking. Yeah. But
People
yeah.
always want, yeah, it's a good use case. Everybody wants
That
more
is a good
things.
use case.
I guess
I'm
for now you
curious
could
if,
use different forms. Yes, Ali.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, you could use different forms. I'm curious if anyone else on the call has a similar use case or would plan to use it that way. It's just really, yeah, good feedback for us to think about.
Yeah, if it was set more, maybe not in the form, but against the user group or user group against the form. So then you don't have to have multiple forms. So all the data is in the same spot. However, the super user can edit theirs, but the not super user isn't allowed to edit theirs. Or the QR, if the QR for the configuration is password protected, and one of the settings is, am I allowed to access the editability if it's been set to editable? So client editable is still static, but there's something in the settings that says, can I take advantage of this? This particular person, this particular QR.
That's helpful. Anyone else?
Collins has a question about whether or not the end time will change after editing. And yes, it will, but it's a little subtle because really what an edit is that you have your original submission with all its information. An edit makes a copy of that submission and then has an ID that links the two things together. And then that second submission runs through the same evaluation. So the original submission will have the original edit time, and then the new submission that you're making, the edit will have that new end time. When you export the data, you only see the new submission. So from a user perspective, when you export the data, yes, the end time will change because there's a copy of the submission that has run through its evaluations. Okay, I got a heart. Whew. Okay.
Anybody else have feedback or things that come to mind before we jump into a few other questions around form versions?
Oh, I have a question, Ali.
Yeah, go for it. Sorry, someone's whispering.
That was me.
Yeah.
Whoever's not me should go first.
I was just going to say I was very heartened at the throwaway comment at the end there of out of scope for now is send back with comments.
Yeah.
Because previously that's always been a hard no.
Yeah.
If it's now a soft no, that's pretty cool.
I think we've heard that feedback quite a bit, and we know it would add a lot of value. It's just like all a matter of priorities. But I think figuring out like small ways we can get closer to that, that's the goal.
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to try the beta yet. Unfortunately, I've been a bit busy, but I'm very, very keen to give it a go. Yeah, knowing there are some limitations around it, which may mean like, yes, it'd be good to use it, but it won't actually work in these particular instances. We'll see. But yeah, gonna try and find out.
Yeah, let us know your feedback as you do.
Yeah.
Was someone else going to jump in as well?
I was going to jump in. Just quickly to clarify that the stuff that's in progress, I don't know if you go back to the slide, is the hope that all of those things will be included in the coming release.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Sargosh, is there anything you want to add as we're kind of going through this? We have the whole team on the call for the most part.
I can just maybe add that not even what was mentioned that is in progress, but even more. I think Ali, you didn't mention removing forms that are edited, right? It's not here. So
Yeah,
we'll also be working on that it will be only possible to remove the latest form.
Yeah.
In sequence. So if you have a few edits, only the latest one will be deletable, so that the sequence can be broken.
Yeah.
And so as I understand it, so editing currently will use the version of the form that was used to create the submission. And so maybe it won't, maybe that'll change. So if the form was, has a problem or an error, then you can do the edit with the updated definition.
Yeah, that's a big question that we have that we would love to hear feedback on. I feel like this is kind of your question, Andrew.
Yes.
Do edits use the latest form definition or the one used for data entry? Right now, it's the form version used during data entry, but we'd love to hear your feedback and use cases around that. So you can add fields or edit existing submissions to capture data for those new fields. You need to introduce a new form or use entities. Possible like future functionality that we're considering is just as you said, Andrew, like to be able to switch to the latest form definition and how that would work is still to be determined, but we're really curious to hear from you all what your use
I think,
cases are. Yeah.
yeah, there have been times when I've edited with central because that uses the latest definition, and that allows me to
Right.
either use a new field or a fixed field or something, you know, that,
Yeah.
that was causing a problem previously, and that allows you to then fix your data that way. So this lets in the field, you're able to do that as well.
Yeah.
I will
And
plus. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, so that also means that because it's the definition that was used when you create it, the entity is the CSV that was loaded in that folder with that version. So that's why it's also locked to that version of the entity with editing currently, right?
That one I don't
think-
know. Ellen?
Yeah. Oh, Elena's here for entities. That is tricky.
My guess is that with offline entities, it would use like the newest version of the entity on the device, maybe.
Newest version.
Ellen is nodding, but is not speaking.
Okay, so if the entity lists have updated since it was first created, then the selections and data that is available is now whatever is in the latest version of the entity.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, cool. All right. So I thought I saw something in one of the previous slides that sounded like it was the other way. So that's cool to clarify. Thank you. And just to finish, clone or copy as new is also would be very cool later as well. Yeah. And now I'll shut up.
Cool, or do you have use cases as well? We love cool things, but also
Sorry, we all love cool. No, I just think that I would definitely have cases where it would make sense to be able to, well, you know, in the case of like where you've edited in central, but you want to clone a new record, or you have a record that where
Right.
most of the things are the same, and you don't want to have to go through everything, so you're cloning the bulk of it, or you have one draft where it's like 80% complete, the data, you clone that, and then you do the other bits many times off it. I can think of a bunch of different ways to clone an existing record and modify it or complete it. And so that would even be cloning a draft, not editing cloning a finalized submission.
Yeah. That's helpful.
One bit of feedback that I had from sort of doing support, the support side of ODK Cloud, is that oftentimes somebody makes a mistake in the form, like in the form design, where like they block off a particular path. And so Yakub is nodding. So being able to get a new form definition that has the fix in it and edit that old data is something that comes across my desk pretty often. So that's a reason to sort of have that, being able to switch the latest form definition feature as well.
Stefan on the call. He was actually
Yeah,
I think, yeah. Do you want to share a little bit about your work? How you imagine it?
yeah, sure. I would like to share about this. This is a great feature. In fact, this is a great feature to have. Some of us have alluded. It will help us to edit mistakes that were done in the field. Yeah. And one area I find it particularly useful is during the training. Maybe we are during the training, make sure that we are at the same page with every research assistant or enumerators. Maybe there are 80 of them. We want to be at the same page, like the same question. But sometimes we find that we encounter a problem at a specific question and maybe towards the middle. So for us to continue, I'll have to update the form, then tell them to update, and they will have to start afresh. And for them to catch up and get to the same area, it takes a lot of time, and that's add time to the during the training. Yeah, so having this feature in mind, I think will help us to curb that particular problem. The other issue I have is pertaining to media files. Suppose they uploaded a wrong picture. When they edit, understand that this will override the existing one. So will the media files be overridden by the new update when it is edited? Thanks.
Yeah, it would. With whatever you edit the image, I mean, the rest of the team, correct me if I'm wrong, it would use whatever edit you made. If you added a new photo, or it would use that most recent one.
That's correct.
Is that your concern? That answer your question?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, what about the previous one? Will it be deleted completely?
No, it will not be deleted completely. On the mobile device, and Jagos can correct me if I'm wrong, on the mobile device, we'll keep every version, and so you'll be able to see all those, the different like edits that you've made. On the server as well, the server keeps every copy of every submission. So it has the original one and then every edit as far there. The only difference is that on the server, when you export, it only exports the latest. And we don't have an easy way for you to export a previous version, but the data is all there in the database. And you, I believe you can get it with the API or
Okay,
not. I don't know.
Okay. Maybe I will, where just to keep us going, and we're going to continue this on the forum as well. We'll summarize a lot of the feedback that we heard here, as well as some of these questions that we've heard from you all as we've been working on it. So another one was around stopping edits. So what if I want to stop allowing edits after a certain point? So existing submissions on device can always be edited, but you can't update a form to prevent new submissions from being edited. So you can do that. Another alternative to stop allowing edits is obviously we talked about this, once the edit is made in Central, no edits can be made on the device. You could also, a project manager could close the form to prevent submissions and edits, but that would also prevent server-based edits. And then you could also revoke app user access. So kind of touched on a few of these things, but just to kind of answer those questions, and curious if anyone else has follow-up questions on these two around stopping edits before we jump into web forms. Getting some head nods. Okay, maybe that all sounds good. We'll post this, and if you have thoughts afterwards, that also works. I'm going to, I guess just to summarize with collect. So we're going to work on all of those things that we mentioned in progress for editing submissions on device. Next, we're doing some editing entity work. We're going to keep working on that, displaying media in the summary and form filling, as well as some bug fixes as part of this release. So try it out if you haven't already and give us feedback. All right, so next we wanted to spend a little bit of time going through web forms and what we're working on now. So soon you'll be able to opt in to web forms for individual forms from Central. So that's coming very soon. And I'll show a little bit about how that works. You can submit and edit forms. We've just introduced the date question type as well as the image question. Next, we're working on selects with images. We're going to continue the geo work, and then some theming around logos, and then potentially changing colors as well. So to show you how it works in terms of opting into web forms, so from Central, you'll go to that individual form, go to settings. The default is in Keto, but you can switch to web forms. There's a little dialogue there. Just tells you a little bit more about how you can learn about the different question types that are supported. But the flow is pretty straightforward. So that's how you opt in for individual forms. I wanted to also show, so this is our preview page if you haven't seen it before, where you can upload an XLS form and test it out. You can also do this soon from Central. But maybe just to show quickly some of the new work that we've been we've been doing. So you'll notice that before web forms was pretty gray, and we have updated it to use a color scheme similar to collect. So things start to feel a little bit more cohesive. As we're kind of iterating and developing, we're always trying to incrementally make the user experience better. We've played around with increasing font sizes and typography to make things more clear. So if you haven't seen this already, you can play around with the question types form or try your own. You could upload one. Oh, everyone's in the way now. You can see everything on my desktop.
No, we can't.
My messy desktop. Okay, good. Okay, good. Thank goodness. I was like, oh God. I've been doing so many screen captures of all of this stuff. So you can see the image uploaded there. So the height is fixed, but then the width is responsive. So we're not jeopardizing any kind of quality of the image, and you can easily remove it. So that's the new question, or sorry, image question type, which is quite exciting. You can also, some of these things are still pending. We're working on them, but we also have the date question type. So you can change the month, add the date. You can clear. This is pretty common pattern, which I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with, or you could go for today. And so that's now built. There's a few little tweaks we're going to keep doing, as well as building out the rest of the calendar types will come a little bit later. Maybe I'll just show GeoPoint while we're here. Now you all know location. So you can see there's good accuracy, and you can try again if you want to. This is something that we've talked about in previous insiders calls, but if you haven't tried it, definitely encourage it. And then we're going to be building out the rest with confirmation on the map. So that's quite exciting. That will come a little bit next on the roadmap. And then the selects, we're going to be adding images with selects. We'll be sharing that on the forum soon to get your feedback. So I really encourage you to have a play around and test out your forms. Give us feedback. We have Jennifer on the call as well. We're here. We want to hear your feedback as you're testing things. So maybe I'll pause there. Does anyone have any questions about web forms? I'll maybe stop sharing. I'll hand it over to Yao. Yes, question.
Like who is like there's going to be an opt-in phase for web forms. Like who should opt in? Like somebody who's doing like a big survey, somebody like who's the right person to sort of jump into this beta and try it out?
Yeah, excellent question. It's web forms is in a great place for straightforward forms. So if you're wanting to test out maybe some individual forms that you think that might be a good candidate, that's a good place to start. For more advanced functionality, maybe with GeoPoint with a map or annotations, some of that more advanced feature types. You might want to hold off and continue using Enketo until then. I'm going to share the feature matrix or our progress so you can check your question types against that and ensure that it's a good fit before you go and use it for data collection. It's still very much in beta. We're working towards building up all of that core functionality. So Ellen or Jennifer, do you want to add to that? Just smiles. Good. Any other questions from anyone on the call? Some claps. Great. Okay, yeah, over to you for the central update.
I'll share my screen here for the central updates. Great. So thanks, Ali, for sharing all the great stuff that's coming in Collect with edits and also all the great stuff that's coming with web forms and people being able to opt in. I know we're going to be putting a post out about Central and some of the changes, web forms and some of the changes that are coming, so people can try it out. But as always, insiders get a sneak peek, so that's fantastic. Now, we haven't just been working on Central Collect and web forms. We also have some changes to Central that are coming. So in the coming release, yeah, you will have a new form draft page that's just designed to be a little bit more visible as far as what is happening with any particular form and give you visibility into the changes that are being made and where you are in the process. There's also a bunch of sort of, I won't even say tweaks, just improvements to user experience throughout the application, and we'll be doing more of that. Obviously, as Ali mentioned, there will be opt-in to web forms, and Saad and the team have been doing a lot of work to make sure that that whole process is super seamless as far as what the URLs look like and things redirecting. And so that's a big change that's coming in Central. We know that those of you who are using entities and are benefiting from being on the cutting edge want more stuff out of entities. And so we shared a post a couple of weeks ago about limiting entity access. So thank you for the feedback. If you haven't, maybe Ali or Len can drop that link in there about how we're proceeding with limiting access to entities, phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3. We also know that if you have a lot of entities, being able to find the one that you need or the one that you want to change access to can be quite painful. And so we do have a work ongoing right now with Nicole designing a new user experience for searching and sorting entities. So we'll be able to do things like, our hope is, search for a particular entity or group of entities, select them in bulk, and then be able to either, change some of their properties, but who it belongs to. And then the last and sweetest thing is that you will soon be able to create entities from a repeat. And so we know that's something that folks, especially the geospatial and agriculture space, really want. So like, you go to a field and then you collect data on a bunch of trees, and you want each of these trees to become an entity. And so we have, Alen has a spec ready, and we're really working towards making that feature a possibility. We're hopeful that at least we'll have something to show in the next few months here on that front. I don't want to put any pressure on Len and the team, but we will have something to show in the next few months. So I'm really excited about getting that out to folks. I'll do the next slide here. Oh, look, we have screenshots. I didn't even know we had screenshot. I was hyping it up. I forgot that we have screenshots. So this is sort of what the UI and the user experience is going to look like for entity access. You can see that there's a little filter bar up there with the search where you can search for who's created by who and at what time. Select all of them or select some portion of them and be able to change the owner or delete the entity. So there's some bulk management that's coming in ODK very soon. Amazing. I saw these slides before, but I guess I was just so overwhelmed by how good it looked that I forgot that the screenshots were there. So, all right, cool. So that's what's coming in Central. I see there's a bunch of stuff in the chat. Alen has pointed out rightfully that search would also include being a search for property values, which is really amazing. So, for example, you can find all children under 5 if they have that sort of property in there and then make the adjustment, or all people by a particular location. So, yes, there will be sorting. Andrew's very excited about repeats, so that's fantastic. Okay. Next steps. We are going to continue a lot of these conversations. Yes, Sam. Wow, I agree. Wow, filtering by properties entities is going to be a new feature. It hasn't existed yet, but it's coming. Maybe I got a lot of windows here. Maybe Ali or Len can drop a link for Sam. Sam, the feature here is going to be being able to assign search by property and then assign entities based on those properties to a particular app user. Odile, in general, whenever we ship a new feature, the feature is accessible via API. The way that Central is structured is that there's a backend and a front end, and the backend has a very nice beautiful, well-documented, powerful, flexible API. And I can say all those things because the team is forced to use that same API to make the front end. And so if there's something that you can see in the UI, 99.9% of the time, that's something that's accessible via API. And oftentimes that's also why features ship API first, because we build it first on the API side, and then we build the UI after that. Thank you for dropping that link. Oh, look, Ellen and I said basically exactly the same thing. So amazing. The team is really aligned on on what happens in Central. Fantastic. Okay, next steps. We're going to continue many of these conversations on the forum. There'll be more posts coming shortly. So again, editing and collect. We continue to love and welcome your feedback on there. Web forms, the opt-in feature, please do give it a try. Central, when the next Central release ships very soon here, you'll be able to opt in and try some of the new features there. We have a ton of stuff in the pipeline, so keep providing your feedback. That's what allows us to push forward. One big thing that is coming up for us is that we will be doing an ODK summit in late June. This will be our third summit that we've done, so an in-person event it's going to be focused on agriculture. So some folks from the insiders will be there. A lot of folks from the team will be there. This is all done in partnership with the Gates Foundation. And so because it's an in-person event, we can't invite everybody, even though I'd love to actually do that, but we can't really do that. But our hope is that we will share both the agenda and some of the sessions ahead of time once we have that prepped. And as always, we will also share out learnings and a report at the end of the event, so everybody can benefit from there. Ali needs to run, so she'll say bye. Thank you, Ali, for all the work you've done. One of the reasons that because the summit is a ton of work to put together for the team, and so we will not be able to do insiders calls in June and July, but we'll be on the forum answering questions and gathering your feedback as always. So we have about 5 minutes left. So I want to turn over the floor. Do I have any more slides? I don't have any more slides. I'm going to stop sharing. Since Ellen joined a little late, Ellen Martin, not other Ellen, I wanted to turn over the floor to her in case she had any questions or comments based on what she's seen in the chat log. Ellen, anything you want to add to what we've covered so far?
No, it's really energizing to see that everyone's excited about what we have planned, and looking forward to seeing a lot of good feedback on the forum as we post some details, but nothing else from me.
Fantastic. And then what about the rest of the team? Jigosh, Kathleen, Jennifer, I think that's everybody on the team. Anything else that you want to add or comments you want to share with the community? Just a solid thumbs up. We appreciate that. Fantastic. And then now to the rest of the folks, we've got about 4 minutes, and I'll stick around to do an after hours, but any comments, questions, concerns, feedback that you want to share whilst we have everybody on the call?
Just a big thank you for all the work. There's a lot of stuff that's been mentioned as coming next, coming soon, coming in the future. That's all very, very exciting to see.
Yeah, thank you, Andrew. Thank you, Sam and Adil. We're getting a lot of love from Yakub. Thank you, thank you for that. Yeah, as always, it's the feedback that you provide is what helps us prioritize what features ship first, and that way we can sort of help produce features that enables your work. So keep the feedback coming, keep pushing, and suggesting things that we can add to ODK that can help make your work better. So with that, we'll end a little bit early, but we're not really going to end. Let's just say we'll pause here so those who have to go can go. And then I am going to open up the floor for our spicy after hours. After hours is a free-for-all. You can ask anything. It will not be recorded. And so you can be your true self. And I will be here I think Ellen will be here. Kathleen maybe will stick around. Jennifer also to ask any questions about whatever. Okay, so now after hours begins.